going to do a sonnet. Mark didn't read any sonnets tonight, but he's written a lot of great sonnets, so I thought I would start with that, with a sonnet from my last book of poems, and then read some new stuff. Stolen moments. What happened, happened once. So now it's best in memory. An orange he sliced, the skin unbroken, then the knife, the chilled wedge lifted to my mouth, his mouth, the thin membrane between us, the exquisite orange, tongue, orange, my nakedness and his, the way he pushed me up against the fridge. Now I get to feel his hands again, the kiss that didn't last but sent some neural twin flashing wildly through the cortex. Love's merciless, the way it travels in and keeps emitting light. Beside the stove, we ate an orange, and there were purple flowers on the table, and we still had ours. And so this is some new stuff. I have a book coming out next year called Lucifer at the Starlight, so I'm going to read a few poems from that. This first one has a lot of exclamation points in it, so you hear sort of a when that happens. And there are a lot of names in it also. Most of them will be familiar to you, but there are some place names in the middle, some Middle Eastern place names, and after that you'll hear some names, and they are women's names. Might be useful to know. This is November 11th, 2004. Oh, everyone's dead, and the rain today is marvelous. I drive to the gym, the streets are slick, everyone's using their wipers, people are walking with their shoulders hunched, wearing hoods or holding up umbrellas. Of course, it's all to be expected. Fantastic. My mother's friend Annie, her funeral's today. The writer Iris Chang, she just shot herself. And Arafat, he's dead too. The doctors refuse to say what killed him. His wife is fighting with the Palestinians over his millions. The parking lot of the gym is filled with muddy puddles. I run 4.3 miles per hour on the treadmill, and they're dead in Baghdad and Fallujah, Mosul and Samarra and Latakia. Nadia and Soraya, Nala and Hoda and Noor, their husbands and cousins and brothers, dead in their own neighborhoods. Imagine! Marine Staff Sergeant David G. Reese, 29, Clark, Washington, killed. Army Specialist Kwok Bin Tran, 26, Mission Viejo, California, killed. Army Specialist Brian L. Freeman, 31, Lumberton, New Jersey, same deal. Marine Lance Corporal Jeffrey Larn, 22, New York, you guessed it. Oh, I could go on and on for as long as I live. In Africa, too, they've been starved and macheted. The morning paper said the Serbs apologized for Srebrenica. 7,800 Muslims murdered in 1995. I know it's old news, but hey, they're still dead. I almost forgot my neighbor's niece, 16 and puking in Kaiser Emergency, the cause a big mystery until the autopsy, toxic shock syndrome of all things. I thought that was history too, but I guess girls are still dying. Who knew? I run for 2 miles, my knees hurt, and my shins. I step off and stretch for a bit. I go back outside into the rain. It feels chilly and good. It goes on all day, unending and glorious, falling and filling the roof gutters, flooding the low-lying roads. And this one happens to have a few question marks in it. It's called Yes. So you can make little check marks if you like. You can take this test. Do you sometimes drink alone? Have you ever woken up the next morning after a night of heavy drinking? Does your cat wander through the house meowing inconsolably despite having fresh food and water? Hunger, thirst, friendship, love. Green bee, Russian quaalude, red-headed slut, IEDs on the supply route to pleasure. There's a gala in your hypothalamus, helium balloons rising to the rafters, the fizzy ricochet of laughter. There's a stumble bum in your cerebellum, that empty feeling crawling toward you. Should you kill it with a wadded paper towel, or trap it in a jar and shake it out and send it flying into the grass? Is your head full of frozen tamales and a vodka bottle curled on its side? How do you get through the interminable evenings? Are they really interminable? Have you considered the alternative? Now get out of your car, stand by the side of the road and take a step. Now recite the wasteland backwards, beginning with that sexy Sanskrit word, which is Shanti, peace. This is called The Little Dog Upstairs That Never Quits Barking. The poem doesn't have a happy ending, but the story does, because the little dog died, I'm happy to say. I mean, this woman upstairs, my dog died, and I was just thinking, before I got a chance to poison it. The little dog upstairs that never quits barking has suddenly quit. And in the quiet, I wait for him to resume, imagining him, for I have seen him, his tight white curls, his anxious, mashed-in face, staring into space, too sorrowful now even to cry out, settling with a sigh in the leopard armchair, facing the wooden indifference of the door. Poetry, after all, is a form of barking. Yap, yap, yap. Someone please come back. Take me outside to piddle among the flower stalks. Cradle me in the arms of your strange tall species. Grant me a biscuit shaped like a bone. And now I too fall silent. The clock in the kitchen keeps clicking away, saying love me to the skillet and saucepans, the wire rack of dishes, cans of soup and beans, oh bowl of sugar, oh dispenser of salt. This is called Storm Catechism. I grew up Catholic, so we grew up with the Baltimore Catechism that had the hard questions and the answers. So who made man? God made man. Why did God make man? To love, honor, and serve him. So there are a few questions in here as well about those sorts of matters. Storm Catechism. The gods are rinsing their just boiled pasta in a colander, which is why it is humid and fitfully raining down here in the steel sink of mortal life. Sometimes you can smell the truffle oil and hear the ambrosia being knocked back. Sometimes you catch a drift of laughter in that thunder crack. Zeus knocking over his glass, spilling lightning into a tree. The tree shears away from itself and falls on a car, killing a high school girl. Or maybe it just crashes down on a few trash cans and the next day gets cut up and hauled away by the city. Either way, hilarity. The gods are infinitely perfect, as is their divine mac and cheese. Where does macaroni come from? Where does matter? Why does the cat act autistic when called, then batter a moth for an hour, watching intently as it drags its wings over the area rug? The gods were here first, and they're bigger. They always were and always will be living it up in their father's mansion. You only crawled from the drain a few millennia ago, after inventing legs for yourself so you could stand, inventing fists in order to raise them and curse the heavens. Do the gods see us? Will the waters be rising soon? The waters will be rising soon. Find someone or something to cling to. You can see my cat inspires my poetry, often. This is a little bit inspired by other poems. So there are those of you who like such exercises can see how many twisted lines of other poets you can find in this piece. But I'll tell you, it begins with a take on a frost line. I've been more acquainted with the night, and it ends with frost also. And there are a few more lines in the middle that have been torqued. The first line is the deepest. I have been one acquainted with the spatula, the slotted, scuffed, Teflon-coated spatula that lifts a solitary hamburger from pan to plate, acquainted with the vibrator known as the pocket rocket, and the dildo that goes by Tex. And I have gone out, a drunken bitch, in order to ruin what love I was given. And also I have measured out my life in little pills, Zoloft, Restoril, Celexa, Xanax. I have, for I am a poet, and it is my duty to know wherein lies the beauty of this degraded body, or maybe it's the degradation in the beautiful body, the ugly me groping back to my desk to piss on perfection, to lay my kiss of mortal confusion upon the mouth of infinite wisdom. My kiss says razors and pain. My kiss says America is charged with the madness of God. Sundays, too, the soldiers get up early and put on their fatigues in the blue-black day, black milk, black gold, Texas tea. Into the valley of Halliburton rides the infantry. Why does 1 month have to be the cruelest? Can't they all be equally cruel? I have seen the best gamers of your generation joy-sticking their M1 tanks through the sewage-filled streets. Whose world this is, I think I know. This is called God Ode. And this is from an anthology that Chad Prevost, is Chad here? Yeah, so a couple guys are doing this anthology called, is it Breathe? Yeah. Breathe, 101 Contemporary Odes. So this is mine, it's called God Ode. Praise having a body to be unhappy in, suffering the slings and staring unbelieving at the arrows bristling from your chest as the Indians creep closer. Praise the oil slick of your loneliness, the suffocated little shorebirds of your longing. Here's to the scribbles of alcohol seeping into the cell walls, the reeling mitochondria, the deceased brain cells carried out in coffinets of sweat. Gratitude, gratitude to whoever knelt down and shat upon the floor of the portalet at the children's playground where I had to pee last Sunday after pushing my young friend on the tire swing, after whumping down the curving tube slide again and again upside down on my back. Small happiness followed by nausea. Thank you, you demented, you disapproving or possibly AWOL higher power. How high is that anyway? Higher than me and my grown-up friend doing ecstasy in the desert, getting cut up by cactus, floating back to the house, finding water for once more delicious than wine. Praise you in your airy, your maybe not there crag. Down here on the darkling, fattening plain, we root and toil, and sometimes, mercifully, we spin. So this is called Shrine. Our Lady of Dejection, goddess of sleeplessness and dread, of owl shriek, of the old man next door hawking up phlegm, his rasp and spit, his heavy sigh, Our Lady of isolate evenings spent sifting for coins in the shipwreck at the bottom of a bottle, Lady of the perforated heart, of errands looming like the labors of Hercules, Lady of consoling, tormenting memories unstoppered from the soul jar and spilled shimmering in answer to unanswerable thirst, I love your downcast eyes, your outstretched hands, your alcove of foglight descending from the stratosphere. I love how you forbear us, how you force our pain to flowering, unlike God who has forsaken us in favor of those who praise him. For I cannot praise him with my awful strings, with my terrible song, Lady of wind in the yards, tearing down trees in the dark, Lady of sulphurous rain and washed out roads and snapped power lines flailing and sparking. Oh, my mother, at your lovely feet I lay my bitter offering. So presumably that's brought us all down a little bit and gives me an excuse to segue into some blues. I realize this is the poetry hour, technically. There's my pun. Haha, get it? And I realize this is not the poetry and roots music hour, but I play blues harmonica, and I think there are, or I'm learning blues harmonica, and I think there are a lot of intersections between this music and poetry. So I like to try to play a little blues for poetry audiences. So I'm going to play you two short things. I think I have enough time. Two short pieces, and the first one is a train song. All aboard. the last thing I'm going to do is I meant to say that was a kind of my take on a couple of different train songs by D. Ford Bailey, who was actually the first African American to play at the Grand Ole Opry. It's very popular there, and so that was D. Ford, a little bit of a couple of his train songs called Dixie Flyer Blues and Panamanian Panamanian Double Blues, no, Pan American Blues, and this last piece is one that was recorded by the Lomaxes, of a guy named Turner Jr. Johnson, a little spiritual called In New Jerusalem. There's a bright Thank you. Thanks.